What if everything you've learned about the past, the timeline of civilization, the development of science, the very nature of human potential was a carefully curated deception, not a malicious lie, but a vast, institutionalized oversight based on fragmented evidence? Imagine 10 fragments of history so impossible, so contradictory to our established narrative, that their existence alone demands we tear up the history books and start again. These aren't artifacts of myth, but meticulously documented, authenticated record scrolls, stone engravings, and decoded manuscripts that chronicle a civilization we were never meant to discover. A civilization that possessed knowledge of flight 5,0 years before the Wright brothers, understood quantum mechanics before Newton, and mastered climate control before the invention of the thermostat. This is the story of the Chronicle of the 10th Scroll, the forgotten text that reveals the true history of human genius, and the 10 historical anomalies that prove its impossible claims. Prepare to question every foundation of history you thought was solid. This is the untold story of the deep past, where fact becomes more astonishing than fiction. Our journey begins not in a lost city, but in a dusty, hermetically sealed archival room deep beneath the Vatican library in the early 1960s. Here, amidst millions of forgotten documents, Dr. Alistair Finch, a meticulous but ostracized paleographer, stumbled upon the impossible. It was a single, tightly wound scroll, bound in a leather made from an unknown hide, nestled within a cover labeled merely Miscellanea Cuneiformia, non-concordant. Dr. Finch named it simply the 10th Scroll. The scroll was not long, but its content was devastating. It was a chronicle, written in a clear Neo-Babylonian script, dated precisely to 539 BC. Its author, a royal librarian named Marduk Apli, claimed the text was a faithful transcription of far older source materials rescued from the destruction of the city of Ur. The scroll did not contain laws or epics. It contained a list of 10 impossible historical records known to the ancient, pre-Sumerian scribes, records that detailed technologies far exceeding anything known in the Fertile Crescent. Marduk Apli's purpose was an act of historical defiance. He feared the true depth of human history was being purposefully forgotten. He wrote, "Lest the memory of the architects of the first world perish entirely, and we remain forever children believing clay and the copper our finest inventions, we commit these fragments to the silent dark." Dr. Finch spent the next 2 decades in absolute secrecy, first authenticating the script, then tracing the archaeological echoes of Marduk Apli's 10 impossible records. What he uncovered confirmed the 10 scrolls' authenticity and shattered the linear progression of human history. This civilization, which Marduk Apli named the architects of the first world, possessed a mastery of the physical world that we, even today, have not fully recovered. The first impossible record was the Tablet of Aerial Navigation, allegedly recovered from a sealed chamber beneath the city of Eridu. The description was precise, a hexagonal tablet of black basalt engraved with schematics showing a chamber-like conveyance with rotating horizontal vanes and depressurized diachambers designed to lift it. Marduk Apli recorded a fragment of its inscription: "When the shadows lengthen and the ground freezes, the sky shall must ascend to follow the retreating warmth." If this was true, it meant the concept of vertical flight existed not just before the airplane, but before the wheel was used for transport, and was tied to a necessity associated with an extreme climate event, perhaps the last ice age. Dr. Finch's relentless search began with one small lead, a cryptic note in a 19th century journal detailing a strange basalt fragment found in the ruins of Eridu, which was subsequently shipped to an obscure private collector in Amsterdam and never catalogued. The trail was faint, but the implications were staggering. Following this tantalizing lead, Finch focused his attention on the second entry in Marduk Apli's chronicle, the Stone of Zero Entropy. Marduk Apli's description was more metaphorical, a perfectly formed orb of ice blue crystal, said to draw the cord from the shadow and return the heat to the sun. The architects used them to keep their high places warm when the air itself sought to kill them. The key detail was a geographical reference, a myth in ancient Anatolia about a sky mountain that was perpetually green even when heavy snow blanketed the lands below. Finch's investigation led him to a small, isolated village high in the Taurus Mountains. "Sir, in the mid-1997 no less," he uncovered a local legend of a glowing blue stone that sat inside an ancient, perfectly circular stone hut near the summit. The shepherd claimed the hut was always warm, regardless of the season. Finch spent months excavating the site. He didn't find the stone, but he found something equally astonishing, a massive, empty socket of highly polished, fused basalt in the hut's center. The stone of the socket was unnaturally warm to the touch. Scientific readings showed a persistent thermal anomaly. The ambient temperature inside the hut, even in the dead of winter, never dropped below 18 degrees Celsius, while outside it hovered around -10. The evidence suggested the stone of zero entropy was a functional device that mastered advanced thermodynamic principles, perhaps achieving a form of localized atmospheric energy absorption. The third record introduced by Marduk Apli was the Map of the Unseen, a document described as being etched on the hide of a monstrous sea beast. Marduk Apli stressed one detail. The map not only showed all known lands but also the great frozen lands far to the south, drawn in precise detail, showing mountains that slip beneath the ice. Finch recognized this description instantly. It echoed the legend of the Piri-Reis map, an Ottoman-era map from 1513, famous for charting coastlines like Antarctica with unbelievable accuracy. Piri-Reis himself claimed his map was compiled from much older sources. Finch theorized that the Piri-Reis map was a direct descendant of the Map of the Unseen. His search led him to the hidden archives of an old Venetian mercantile family. In a locked chest, he found the 14th century nautical chart. It showed the Mediterranean and the North Africa accurately, but its most shocking feature was a sudden projection that charted a massive ice-free landmass corresponding precisely to the continental shelf of Antarctica, complete with detailed river valleys and the mountain ranges now covered by over a mile of ice. This implied the architects had global reach, and the map was drafted during a period when Antarctica was not frozen, a phenomenon that has occurred for at least 12 million years. The discovery of this chart gave Finch the first verifiable, physical connection to the impossible records of the 10th scroll. Marduk Apli's description of the fourth impossible record was just as evocative, a pillar of pure radiance, brighter than 1,000 torches, yet without heat or smoke, rising from a deep pool in the western deserts. It drew no more fuel but the air itself. Finch deduced that the western deserts likely referred to the Arabian Peninsula. His investigation led him to a forgotten desert legend in the empty quarter of Arabia, an oasis named Al-Khidr, rumored to have a sacred pool that glowed with an internal light. In the late 1970s, Finch found Al-Khidr. It was a depression in the sand, revealing a deep pool of crystalline water. At its center, beneath the surface, a faint, bluish-white luminescence pulsed rhythmically. Scientific analysis yielded astonishing results. The water contained trace elements of rarest metals in an isotopic ratio not found naturally on Earth. The luminescence was a form of cold fusion or zero-point energy extraction, creating light and the immeasurable electromagnetic field. The system was drawing energy directly from the surrounding environment. The well of endless light confirmed that the architects possessed an understanding of clean, seemingly infinite energy generation, painting a picture of a civilization that never knew fossil fuels or an energy crisis. Marduk Apli's description of the fifth record was perhaps the most unsettling, a great black mirror, polished to the depth of night. Those who gazed into it saw not their own reflection, but echoes of ages yet to come, and the fall of empires not yet risen. The architects called it the window to the flux. Finch hypothesized the mirror was not about prophecy, but temporal observation. His research led him to a small fragment of perfectly polished black obsidian in the basement of the Baghdad Museum, mislabeled as a Sumerian artifact. It had been found in a deep, pre-Sumerian layer during an excavation in Uruk. Under powerful magnification, Finch made a chilling discovery. The obsidian contained an internal, impossibly fine latticework of crystalline filaments. When exposed to specific low-frequency electromagnetic pulses, the mirror surface produced faint, transient holographic images, sometimes showing what appeared to be modern cities, sometimes primeval landscapes. The analysis suggested the obsidian was not merely reflecting, but storing and replaying temporal data. It was not predicting the future, but accessing a memory of different timelines. The obsidian mirror of time suggested the architects had a profound understanding of space-time and the quantum mechanics. Did they know their own fate? And if so, Why did they not prevent their own destruction? We have touched upon flight, climate control, infinite energy, and the temporal observation, but we have only just begun to scratch the surface of the architect's lost world. Join us next time as we continue to decode the 10th scroll and uncover the remaining 5 impossible records that will forever change the way you see human history. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this exploration as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this incredible story.